of NEC and the entire staff of NEC for the warm welcome and the hospitality accorded to us. Amount for quality education. It is therefore important that any examining body should provide quality assessment. And one of the ways that any examining body can provide quality assessment is to ensure that there is continuous improvement can only come when you do benchmark with other colleagues. And this is what NEC has done. Benchmarking gives us opportunity to compare notes and evaluate our procedures and therefore be able to align it with the international standards. The Honorable Minister, we observed NEC's assessment processes and the certification process. In particular, we attended the standard setting and grading process. And in our opinion, as external observers, we find that what NEC is doing is in line with the international practices. Asante sana.
Remarks. I will make my remarks very brief, sir, because the 826,000 odd candidates, it's almost lunchtime, and I'm sure most of them are not going to have lunch until they listen to you. So we won't keep them waiting for too long. We just want to acknowledge the various stakeholders and the multi-agency players and partners who played a very big role in the processes of administering and processing these examinations. I particularly want to pay tribute to the center organizers who were introduced earlier and our chief examiners. Let us please appreciate them, because in the past, you know, sometimes there is a bit of noise, but this time it was very quiet, sir. Our chief examiners did an exemplary job in managing the process. For us in management, we are focused more on the three major examinations that are coming up in November, December. And sir, we want to request you, if you could kindly join us on Tuesday at Kcse, when we want to invite all the sub-county directors of education to participate in the briefing process of ensuring as 8 and Form 4 examinations in November, December are registered. And because I know that many parents are watching this, we want to appeal to you that if you have a child in grade 6 or class 8 or Form 4, we are opening the registration next week on Wednesday. Please take it as your responsibility to find out whether your child has been registered for these exams, because sir, sometimes it is very challenging when parents are calling a day before the exams to say, I have just discovered that my child is not registered for exams. So we want to appeal to all parents and guardians to make sure that they follow up with their children. Registration will begin on the 27th and close on the 14th. It is now my humble duty to invite the chair of the council, Dr. Onsati, to introduce the council, make his remarks, and thereafter invite the PS to run the program. Thank you.
The Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Education, Professor George Magoha, the Secretary and CEO, Teacher Service Commission, Dr. Nancy Macharia, the Principal Secretary, State Department for Basic Education and Early Learning, Dr. Julius Juan, members of the Kenya National Examination Council, Governing Council present, the CEO, Kenya National Examination Council, Dr. David Njengere, and all the invited guests present. Good morning. Oh, it's afternoon, sorry. We woke up early for this exercise, and I can tell you we have been anxious to get over it. Good afternoon. On behalf of the NEC Council, I hereby take this opportunity to appreciate each one of you for gracing this occasion. Before making further remarks, allow me to introduce the Council members of NEC. 1, Dr. Julius Juan, member. Thank you. Dr. Nancy Macharia, member. Professor Charles Ongondo, member. Mr. Martin Okio, member. Madam Rosemary Saina, member. Colonel Retired Leonardo Wambo, member. Professor Eric Ogur, member. Dr. Fred Spotter, member. Mr. Festus Kingori, member. Also member of the council, David Njengere. Sorry, Njengere? I don't know why. That is your new name. Thank you. And obviously myself as the team leader. This is an important milestone for us as an assessment board, as this is the last examination being administered out by the COVID-19 pandemic. We appreciate all stakeholders, especially parents, guardians, and the teachers who supported our examination candidates through the short education calendar. Ladies and gentlemen, as we start off the 2022 school year, I wish to remind all of us that besides KCPE and the Kcse examinations, NEC will be administering the Kenya Primary Education Assessment for the grade 6 summative assessment for the first time within the period. We therefore call upon all stakeholders to support the process of the 2022 October-November assessment and examinations by 1. Ensuring timely and accurate registration of learners who are in grade 6, class 8 and Form 4. Facilitating and supporting learners to prepare adequately for the assessments. In calculating virtues of honesty and integrity in schools, I must emphasize that this is not only applies to the learners, but also to all stakeholders. NEC, on its part, will put all requisite arrangements and measures in place to ensure that its assessment and certification. As I conclude my remarks, I take this opportunity to wish all 2021 Kcse examination candidates success in their next phase of life and urge them to make appropriate career choices as they exit basic education. May I now invite the Principal Secretary, State Department of Basic Education and Early Learning, Dr. Julius Juan, to take the program from here. Dr. Juan, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, the Chair of Kenya National Examinations Council, to our Cabinet Secretary, NEC, all the invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. As the trend has been set, we try as much as possible to make our remarks very brief. I'll first of all start by acknowledging those who have been acknowledged, who have not been acknowledged before, starting with the CEOs who are around in their own capacity. We have the CEO Kcse around, Dr. Nancy Wahome. Oh, sorry. I think today Mercy Wahome. Thank you very much. I think we appreciate her being here because she's the one who is going to admit the students we are releasing today into various colleges. I also acknowledge the presence of the CEO. We have the Secretary Kupet, Mr. Misori. I've seen here the Chair of the Kenya Private Schools Association, directors from Kcse and ministry who are around. Just stand and wave. Thank you very much. If there's any other guest whom I have not mentioned, I'm sure I'll be informed before I finish. It is also important again to acknowledge once more the visiting guests from across Africa, the various examining bodies who have joined us to see what we do in Kenya, to make sure, as already stated, that our standards are up to what is expected across the world. Cabinet Secretary, before I invite the CEO Kcse to make remarks, I have two key things that I wanted to mention, and a third one which is basically to reiterate what has been mentioned by the CEO, the Kenya National Examinations Council, that the registration that will be starting on Wednesday, the 26th, is free, so that even as parents prepare to get their learners registered, nobody should charge any learner, whether from a private school or from a public school, any money for registration for the 3 exams, grade 6, standard 8, and form 4, so that nobody makes a mistake of telling a parent to bring money for that registration. Number 2, I want to mention that the opening of schools remains as scheduled next week, and at this time I want to plead with the principals, especially in our secondary schools. As already mentioned last week by our Cabinet Secretary, the government has already released money for the capitation for schools, 16 plus billion for secondary and 2 billion plus for primary schools. Therefore, as students report to schools next week, I want to plead with the principals, especially of boarding schools, to treat the parents gently. There are parents who may come with less money. There are those who may not have enough. Please let the learners get into school, because we are going to have a fairly short year, so that the learners don't waste time at home. But I also want to encourage parents, because the free day secondary is covered by the government, that they indicate their schedule of payment for money that the learners use to feed in school and for their boarding facilities. The final announcement that I want to make is to inform schools that although the year has been shortened, it is within what is prescribed by Kcse, and therefore from next term, that is next academic year, schools have been authorized and allowed to start what I call minimal co-curricular activities. We already sent out a schedule for that, and therefore let schools engage in the normal co-curricular activities, so that we don't say that the year is very short, everybody must stay in class and learn all the time. As I finish, I want to thank everybody who supported us and who worked with us, the multi-agency team, to make sure that the 2021 Kcse exams ran smoothly. The security officers are represented here by Commissioner Opicho, and of course our colleagues from Ngao, represented by Mr. Mukwe, and all the others who made sure that the exam was a success, as will be seen in the results that are going to be released shortly. At this stage, allow me to invite Dr. Nancy Macharia, the CEO Kcse, to make her remarks, and thereafter I will invite the Cabinet Secretary to release the results. Karibu sana.
The Cabinet Secretary, Professor Magoha, the PS, distinct schools, despite the government advising that you stay at home as you are considered to be among the most vulnerable population, you still went to school to assist our students. For all these efforts, the Commission is forever grateful. While we lack words to thank you enough, we will surely turn our reward policy to keep appreciating those who excel the most. Further, I am happy to announce that His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta has today graciously accepted the Commission's proposal to introduce a Mwalimu Award to recognize all well-performing teachers. The President has further directed the Commission to work with relevant officers to explore modalities of institutionalizing this award within the existing policy and legal frameworks. We wish to thank the President profusely for this incredible honor that is a clear testimony of his appreciation of the teacher's role in the education sector.